She was a wonderful person whose life was cut short, and it's not fair.
They turned into a very tragic situation for all involved.
Brittany was a wonderful young person that didn't deserve this, and we truly deeply miss her every day.
What is a best friend? It might sound like a silly question, I know, but this case will challenge even the most common beliefs around friendship. For most people, a best friend is someone you can rely on time after time, and someone you can trust with your life. Perhaps someone you've known all your life, or at least you feel like you have. But can you believe that there are true crime cases where someone was murdered by their best friend? Such is the heartbreaking case of Brittany Gargol, an 18-year-old girl from Saskatoon, Canada. What happened between her and Cheyenne Rose Antoine? Were they even besties? Or did Cheyenne wear a perfect mask for years, all the while hiding her horrible intent? Or is the story even more complicated? It's hard to believe two girls who were as close as sisters could arrive at a moment like this. But if life taught us anything, it's that anything can happen. In Brittany's case, the unthinkable happened, and it did right after Cheyenne posted a selfie of the two online. Let's dive into the case of the 18-year-old girl who got strangled to death by her best friend at a party. Our story begins in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Saskatoon is a cold yet beautiful town, but it harbors a nasty secret. It has the highest rate of intimate partner violence and domestic violence in Canada. It also has the highest percentage of missing and killed Indigenous women and an above average rate of femicide. But this doesn't mean that everyone in Saskatoon has a terrible life. When Brittany Gargol was born on August 31st, 1996, she had nothing but a happy, loving environment. Her parents, Suzanne, and her second husband, Everett, had dedicated their whole time to her. Brittany also had three very good friends. Her stepsisters from Everett's first marriage, Courtney, Tristan, and Victoria. But although the three girls were older than Brittany, they looked up to her. Brittany was incredibly brave, adventurous, and outspoken. She was pursuing her dreams relentlessly, and she wasn't afraid to communicate her needs and ideas to others. That's a pretty big thing for a teenager. When she was 16, Brittany got her first job. By the time she was 18, she worked two jobs, one at the German Concordia Club and the other at Vern's Pizza. The same year, Brittany also met her biological father for the first time and was getting to know this whole new side of her family tree. She was excited about extending her family, and she was planning to go to school and work in the hospitality industry. She was the picture-perfect, auburn-haired girl with big dreams and a fearless attitude towards life. But in the blink of an eye, it all turned to dust. In 2015, Brittany was juggling two jobs with school, but she still had time for her friends. She was a true social animal, and she adored spending time with quality people. Apart from her three stepsisters, Brittany had close friends at school too. Her bestie was Cheyenne Rose Antoine. Unlike Brittany, Cheyenne had a pretty tough childhood, and that's because her parents had tough childhoods themselves. They'd both attended the residential schools in Canada, which were notorious for child abuse, especially of Indigenous children, before they were shut down in 1998. Cheyenne's parents had serious PTSD from a very young age, and they both developed severe addiction to illegal substances. 2 years after they had Cheyenne, she was taken away by social services and put in an orphanage until she was 18. Tragically, Cheyenne herself was severely abused in foster care, and when she turned 15, her mother died. To cope with everything, Cheyenne ended up in the wrong crowd and became addicted to crystal. But when she met Brittany, it seemed like the two were meant to be best friends. They understood each other, and Brittany seemed to pull Cheyenne away from her dark habits. On March 24th, 2015, their friendship would culminate, but not in the way you imagine. That evening, the girls attended a party together. The plan was to drink throughout the night, hopping from bar to bar until sunrise. At the party, Cheyenne took out her phone and invited Brittany for a quick selfie. She quickly posted it to Facebook. Two best friends having fun on a night out, right? Apparently, after taking the selfie, the girls headed out to Manchester Brew Pub in downtown Saskatoon. Around 4 a.m., the girls went to Colonial Pub and Grill. At the pub, Brittany set eyes on a man, according to Cheyenne. She asked him for a lighter, but the two started chatting, and before long they hit it off. Brittany left with the man, and Cheyenne got dropped off at a senior living facility called the Lighthouse, where she would spend the morning with her uncle. On the evening of March 25th, Cheyenne posted to Brittany's Facebook wall, "Where are you, Brittany? Haven't heard from you. Hope you made it home safe, and I need my phone. Love ya." This might sound like a heartfelt message from a worried friend, but that couldn't be further away from the truth. Trust me. It was in the early hours of March 25th. A man was driving past the Saskatoon landfill when he noticed something that looked an awful lot like an abandoned mannequin on the side of the road. Curious, he stopped the car and approached the mannequin. It was a female body, dumped next to the landfill like garbage. Sickened, the man dialed 911 as fast as he could. The police arrived within minutes and had a look at the body. It had been cold for quite some time and there were bruises on the neck. The girl had been strangled. The police estimated that she had been dumped at the scene between 5:20 and 5:40 a.m. that morning. The body wasn't wearing any shoes and there was a black belt next to it. But before they could do anything with these clues, the officers had to identify the victim. It was fairly easy. The girl had two distinctive tattoos, 2 stars on her left hand and a lion on her shoulder. The police released these pictures to the public, asking for help in identifying the victim. Before long, Brittany Gargol's grieving family appeared. Imagine learning about your daughter's death on TV like that. Someone else called the police that morning. It was Cheyenne, calling from the lighthouse. She said she had some information about Brittany. Cheyenne had a worried voice, and she wanted to confirm with the police that the body was her best friend's. She recognized the tattoos on TV, she said. She then took them through their last night together, the pub crawl, the party, and Brittany leaving with a stranger. Cheyenne expressed her concerns about this new man. Who knows? Maybe he was a serial killer. Then the officers asked her what she did after parting ways with Brittany. Cheyenne said she went to the lighthouse to visit her elderly uncle. Then she passed the phone to her uncle, who confirmed this. In all respects, this sounded like a sane story to the detectives, but a good detective doesn't put all his eggs in one basket. After speaking with Cheyenne, the cops checked the security cameras at the pubs she'd said the girls had been at. If the detectives had some worried hunches about Cheyenne, they were confirmed when they checked the footage from the Colonial Pub and Grill. There was no footage of the girls or the man Cheyenne claimed left with Brittany. Then they checked the surveillance footage from the lighthouse and discovered that Cheyenne had gotten there much later than she claimed. Now, Cheyenne Rose was officially a murder suspect. The first thing the detectives did was go to the lighthouse and talk to Cheyenne's uncle. They confronted him with the security camera footage and asked him what the real story was, as far as he knew. He said that Cheyenne had confided in him that morning. She told him that she and Brittany stayed at a motel with 2 guys and then a fight broke out involving some angel dust. Cheyenne went to the bathroom, and when she came out, Brittany's lifeless body was laid down on the bed with bruises all over her neck. Then, the men threatened Cheyenne with a gun and ordered her to help them dispose of the body. So she did, then ran off to her uncle to ask for help in dealing with the situation. By April, Cheyenne was in custody, but not for Brittany's murder. She had several substance-related offenses, so the police held her at the station for about 6 months. During this time, they continued to interview her about the connection to Brittany's death. But now, Cheyenne wasn't as friendly as when she called from the lighthouse. In fact, she was quite the opposite. Quiet, arrogant, and defensive. Then, in the fall of 2015, she commented on the girl's Facebook selfie. It was a beautifully written, heartbreaking message, people thought. Clearly, Cheyenne still missed her best friend dearly, even after all these months. But just a few weeks after Cheyenne made this comment, her own family rang the police. A witness had come forward. On the night of Brittany's death, Cheyenne turned up drunk and crying hysterically at the door of a female acquaintance, just before sunrise. She told the woman that she'd had an argument with her friend and that she'd hit her over the head with something and then choked her. But to her shock and horror, her friend wasn't waking up. The woman actually looked past Cheyenne and saw her car. Inside the car was the body of Brittany. The woman didn't know if Brittany was alive or not, but she ordered Cheyenne to leave her home. She was too shaken to call the police, so she let Cheyenne disappear into the night. But months later, a guilty conscience prompted her to contact Cheyenne's family. This time, the police were determined to get to the bottom of the story. They had another look at Cheyenne's social media profiles, and before long, they stumbled upon the girl's last selfie, which had a fresh comment underneath. But it wasn't the comment that drew the officers' attention. It was the black braided belt Cheyenne was wearing that night. Remember how they found a belt next to Brittany's body that morning? This was the very same belt. The belt also tested positive for Brittany's DNA, as well as Cheyenne's. Then, there was Brittany's cause of death, strangulation. The witness said that Cheyenne had confessed to choking her friend, and this was consistent with the marks on Brittany's neck, as well as the belt as a possible weapon. Cheyenne was arrested and charged with the second-degree murder of Brittany Gargol. Throughout her lengthy interrogation, she just stood there expressionless, as if she wasn't even there. She didn't defend her lies about the timeline of events or about inventing a man that left with her friend. After hours and hours of the detectives putting pressure on her and showing her the evidence, she said something along the lines of, "I guess I killed her, but I don't remember stalking her." During her trial, Cheyenne's defense team argued that she genuinely doesn't remember the murder because of her intense substance abuse, as well as the shock of what happened. Unfortunately, this meant that the prosecution couldn't get a clear timeline of the events that night. All they could conclude was the two girls drank a lot, then they got into a heated argument and Cheyenne snapped. She didn't plan on killing her best friend, but she did. And afterward, she refused to take responsibility for her actions. She also used that selfie and the tearjerker comment on Facebook as distractions for the police to paint the picture of a grieving friend. In 2018, Cheyenne pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. The sentence is light because the prosecution couldn't prove Cheyenne had the intent to kill Brittany. Cheyenne might have been the victim of a tumultuous, neglectful childhood. It's definitely harder to cope with life and regulate emotions when all you've seen is violence and abuse. But nothing, absolutely nothing, is an excuse for murdering people, let alone your best friend. Hopefully, Cheyenne will use this time to rethink her life and come out a better, kinder person. Meanwhile, Brittany's heartbroken family can only take it one day at a time and try to move on after this horrific tragedy. Thanks for watching, you guys. Hey, don't be shy. Give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more. Till next time, and stay safe.